Hi everybody! So if you're part of Phoebe Darkling fans on Facebook, you know that I recently posted a poll asking people what kind of videos they would be interested in me making. So the choices were lectures that I've given at conventions, live in La Vida expat, because I do live here in Germany right now and I've done a lot of traveling. And then the third one was geeking out about fandoms that I enjoy that I don't necessarily write about. So fortunately, unfortunately, people answered the poll, but they basically chose all three equally. So it didn't help me narrow my focus down, but it did get me thinking about, is there something that I could talk about that would actually tick all three boxes? And I realized that the answer was museums. So in addition to all of my fiction ramblings and my curriculum writing, I actually do have a degree, a minor in art history and a master's degree in museum studies. So if there's anybody who's going to geek out about museums, it's going to be me. So a few months ago, I actually wrote an article for Our Right Side, which is the publisher that is putting out Riffmaker. But I started there as a columnist, and I did a piece that was called Recharging Your Creative Battery After Publishing, which is a little bit of a stretch because I hadn't actually published yet, but because of my work with the creativity competition for kids, I actually had a lot of ideas about getting creative juices flowing. And so I actually spent a section of that article touting how important museums are actually for recharging your creative battery. Because going to a new space, seeing new things, actual three-dimensional things a lot of the time, so not just watching television, but going to a space and occupying it with objects. There's something about it that really, at least for me, really gets my brain going. And, you know, I happen to really enjoy art museums, but I like science museums, industry museums, history museums, reenactors. I love it all. And so I'll sometimes end up going to a museum that's not even a subject that I'm particularly interested in, and I always walk away with ideas. And I think that's it's an important sort of service to the creative world that people don't necessarily think about with museums. But there's no telling where the inspiration is going to come from, where the ideas are going to take you. And it's just an excellent way to get yourself out of your head, out of your house, if you're a home writer like me, and out into the world exploring things. So weekends here in the Darkling household had not meant anything for quite some time. Both my husband and I were working 7 days a week. He was under deadline, I was under deadline, getting the manuscripts ready for my 2 releases coming up in the next 6 weeks. And so we hadn't taken any time really to take advantage of being here in Germany. So we decided to just take a little jaunt over to Switzerland. One weekend we just hopped on a train, went there for the day, came back. So we had fondue and we visited the Kunsthaus Zurich, which is famous for its modern art collection, but also has a fantastic range of pieces. So I thoroughly recommend that museum if you ever find yourself in Zurich. We needed more time than we gave ourselves, but that's sort of true of all museums for me because I do read every label and I spend a long time even just looking at how things are displayed because that interests me. So we went there, and then the next weekend, though, we just kept it local. We went to the local art museum, which happened to have a fantastic pair of special exhibits that went together. So one was a gallery on Munch, so the Scream guy, but these were other pieces that he had done. It was a series of prints when he was recovering from a nervous breakdown after a bad romantic entanglement, which really is at the core of a lot of art, whether or not you realize it. But so he was Norwegian, and so the other exhibit that was there was landscape paintings of Norway. And I thought it was going to be like really cold, right? I was expecting icy and blues and everything, but the artist did such a fantastic job of capturing the real fantasy of these Nordic landscapes, because it's water and mountains. There's nothing flat in between, and so it makes for a lot of drama. And yeah, so it was just transported to this other place, which is a wonderful thing about landscape painting that sometimes gets minimized. I remember sometimes it's referred to as art by the yard because it's just something pretty to put on the wall is kind of the reputation. But for creative types, for writers and other artists, I think it's really important to remember the power of being transported somewhere else by what you're looking at. And it makes you think. And so, yeah, so that's my little takeaway about recharging your batteries and museums. I think that they're just a fantastic way. And even if you're not a professional creative type, if you're just a regular everyday person, museums of all types have lots of wonderful little tidbits that can really get your brain going. And so that's what I do to recharge my creative battery. So I want to know, in conclusion, what do you guys do in order to sort of jumpstart your creativity or get yourself excited once you've gone through a period where you're really stressed out or you've suffered a loss or something? You know, how do you get your joy back? So please leave me comments. I would love to hear from you. And in the meantime, stay splendid.